Okay, so today we are back again with one live question and answer series on the PPP, EIDL, and the second round of COVID-19 bill. So just wanted to go over all of those questions, and these are the same questions which has been asked by so many of our clients as well as the people who has been attending our town hall meetings and so many people. So I just thought maybe we should do a recording of this question and answer. And I have one special guest today with me, and she's my daughter. You want to introduce yourself?
Yes. My name is Mira Barberia. I'm 11 years old, and I'm here to help my mom answer your guys' questions.
Thank you so much, Mira. Okay, and for those of you who don't know me, my name is Minal Babaria. I'm a CPA and a certified tax coach and a founder of KB Tax Advisor CPAs, a full professional service accounting firm located in Central Valley, Pennsylvania. So should we dive in?
Yes.
Okay, are you ready with your first question?
Yes. My first question is, should hiring spouse and kids to maximize PPP forgiveness, can it be done and should it be done?
Well, this is a question which I have got asked from so many people. This is the number one question. And I believe there are issues involving real work here, like child labor laws and making representations on the federal loan application. So I would encourage you to carefully weigh the unintended consequences of getting blinded by the forgiveness shiny object. Remember, by law, it is a crime to use the PPP loan money for anything other than it has been allowed under the law. So I would again advise use your own judgment. If your child is 17 or below and they have never worked in your business, you cannot justify the purpose. You have not lost any head count to replace that head count. I think it's very risky. It might open up doors for some extra inquiries. Now, if you have someone, you have employees who are collecting unemployment and they don't want to come back, and that same exact duties your wife or your kid, one of them can carry out without any issue, I do not see any reason why would banks not allow them to be working under your payroll. Okay, I hope that helps. Next question.
My second question is, will all payroll costs be forgiven under PPP?
Second question. Oh, okay. Well, that's a great question. The way payroll is defined is kind of a little bit vague. Now, the payroll cost includes the salaries, wages, commission, your cash tips, PTO, and severance. It does include health insurance premiums, retirement premiums, state and local taxes assessed on the compensation of the employees, as well as your dental or vision insurance, but does not include the group life health insurance. Now, again, another thing to keep in mind here, the benefits that are provided to the employees under the CARES Act, if your employee is sick or being quarantined, or any of the employees' family member are being sick or quarantined, or FMLA, that is not covered. So that does not count as your payroll cost. Now, so the definition of payroll, I wouldn't say definition, the scope of payroll is very limited here. Now, there's a huge list of what is not included for the payroll cost, and I would like to go over that. So the payroll cost does not include the compensation of any employee in excess of $100,000 as prorated for the COVID period. It does not include taxes imposed or withheld under Chapter 21, 22, or 24 of the Internal Revenue Codes, which is basically your FICA, railroad wages, your federal income tax withholding. It does not include any compensation of an employee whose principal place of residence is outside the US. And again, what I said was qualified sick leave wages or family leave wages under Section 7001 or 7003 of Family First Coronavirus Act. And last but not the least, the amounts paid to the independent contractors. That is not included here either. So, you can't bring in extra payroll or any hazard pay or anything like that. It doesn't matter what the reasoning is. And I know up to a certain extent, it is unfair. So remember, right now, the PPP is just as a gift. It's not a loan. It's a gift that you have received from the SBA, from the government, to spend on the right purpose. And when that specific purpose is met, after the period of 8 weeks, whatever is remaining will be converted as a loan. And as I said before, by law, it's actually a crime to use this money for anything other than the what it has been assigned for. And remember, this is not a random loan you get from the bank where it will be like 100% you use on whatever thing you feel like it. You have a good relationship with the manager of the bank and they allow you, they make exceptions for you and stuff like that. You will be dealing with the bank who is in fact a lender representing an SBA. They can't do anything due to a friendship and really understand your needs or funds to be used for some other purpose. Now, listen, we can assist you to develop a game plan for the maximum PPP forgiveness, as well as track the plan over the next 8-week period for you. So that way you can focus on your business, on your client, your employees, your team and family, without really having to worry about the repayment of the loan. This is not the time to take chances or play around and to see if your game plan will fall out as you are expecting. No, it will have huge impact on the existence of your business itself if it's not done the right way. The thing to remember here, this is not like a random loan you get from the bank. The banker you are dealing with, in fact, is representing an SBA. Okay, so I hope I have made it very clear on that side. Can we have the next question?
The third question is, can the loan proceeds be used to pay any expenses in the borrower's discretion?
That's a very good question. Well, the loan proceeds can be used to pay other expenses at borrower's discretion, but not for the first 8 weeks. For the first 8 weeks, the loan proceeds has to be used for the payroll cost, as we discussed earlier, the payment of any interest on a mortgage obligation, which shall not include any prepayment or payment of the principal on a mortgage, or a rent, which has the lease agreement before February 15th, as well as for utilities. After all, it's not your money for the first 8 weeks. It doesn't matter what set of circumstances you come up with, it just doesn't really matter. How are they going to know what you did? Because you are required to submit all the documents at the end of 8 weeks. You're required to submit receipts. You're required to submit copies of the checks. It's kind of like a mini audit. You will be sitting in front of somebody who is representing, in a sense, the SBA, which will be bank. And if they allow something just because you were able to make a good case in front of them and you needed to spend money on something else, they will be, in fact, putting themselves at risk. Their licenses can be at risk. So bank will not risk their license, and they would not allow it. So you have to make a sound decision here. Okay, everyone, I'm sorry. The first video that I recorded about answering questions on the PPP and EIDL loan, as well as the round 2 updates, for some reason, I lost voice in between the video. So I'm just re-recording portion that was not done. So moving on to the next question. And the next question I have is, I applied for the PPP and EIDL loan, but haven't received any money so far. Not sure what the status of my application is and if I will receive any funds. What do I do? Well, this seems to be a very loaded question. Um, I do sense the fear, the stress in this particular question, you know, and there is a genuine reason behind it. And if your business is closed and not working, or if your business is closed or you are not able to work as an independent contractor or a side gig or in any other form of business, you are eligible to apply for an unemployment. Whether you are a solo practitioner, whether you are in under the self-employed business, independent contractor, a gig worker, an Uber driver, doesn't really matter. You can claim unemployment. You know, if you don't have the revenue coming in, you need to stop thinking about it. If you had a significant hit in your revenue isn't completely stopped, but there is a significant decrease in your revenue, you can get the federal unemployment, which is $600 per week. So if you are a sole proprietor or someone who earns a W-2 wages from their business or from their work, I would say, you receive whatever you are eligible by the state. At the same time, you receive $600 extra from the federal government. Now, for those of you who are self-employed, a partner in the partnership, or an independent contractor, you receive whatever you are eligible per state, if any. In the worst case scenario, you would qualify to receive $600 per week for next 39 weeks. So as long as you don't have that stream of revenue, you can claim for unemployment. Again, I do see a possibility of people taking misuse of this option. But again, just try to remember, if you need it, then only do it. If you don't need it, there are so many people in the country who are really badly affected by this, and we need to leave money out for them. So if you're affected, go ahead and do it, And I do know when I say the unemployment, many of you must be thinking the state unemployment websites are very down. Okay. Let me tell you something about that part. Be patient, I know it's kind of really tough, but state unemployment offices have been working really hard to build the mechanism to start accepting and processing this application. This is not something they have been doing it for years. And also at the same time, they're doing all of this with the very limited staff they have. So please be patient, and I'm pretty sure, they will have systems updated. I do know state of Pennsylvania, they do have their website updated, and they are accepting applications for the self-employed independent contractor for those people as well as a separate. So yeah, they are updated. Now, the next thing that you could do is, it's your time, maybe consider having your employees go on the unemployment, or reduce your employees' hours. If you can't afford to pay them for a full 40 hours, they can collect the unemployment for the balance of the hours that you can't pay. Most states does have what you call shared employment program, where, say, for example, your state would pay for 20 hours. You pay for 20 hours to your employee, whichever works good for you, See, and take use of this only if you're not generating revenue, or maybe you're half-time open and you don't have enough of revenue, of course. But if you didn't get PPP and EIDL, there's no more thinking about it. There's no more contemplating about it, And you do not need to lose your sleep over this. Absolutely not. Don't lose track of the time or thinking about what the day is going to be like. Just relax and take a deep breath here. I know it is tough. and I can totally imagine it. But self-sabotaging yourself is not going to help. And you know, um, think about this: when you started your business, you did go through all of this. You didn't start earning revenue day one of your business. You have gone through it, and we all have gone through it. So and you didn't become a rock star just in a day or so. So think in that terms, and if you made it work up to now, I'm pretty sure you can make it work moving forward as well. So it's not a defeat, it's not embarrassing, it doesn't mean that you didn't do your best when you could have done it. I know it's contrary to a lot of entrepreneurial spirit, but you are going to do first those two things, which I mentioned. um, Collect the unemployment for yourself, or have your employees go on the partial unemployment or full unemployment, whichever works better for you. And then the next thing to get after is a 7200, file form 7200 for the employee retention credit. Now, this may sound a bit crazy, and you might have heard from many people about the employee retention credit or in the media. So hear me out on this. And say for example, you paid your employees for March 13 to 31st for the payroll. Take that amount, okay, and multiply it by 50%. That is what is going to be your refundable tax credit from the IRS. You just file Form 7200 with the IRS, and you will receive that money into your business bank account in less than 2 weeks. That's what the terms are. Let me repeat: whatever you paid your employees, whether they were working, not working, working from home, doesn't really matter. Whatever the case is, and you want to do this as soon as possible. This is not something to hesitate or looking around what other business owners are doing. Just do it, because you don't have too much of a time here wasting to be thinking about it. Next thing, and again, do remember, it is the same situation that you had when you started your business. You can recapture the same spirit, and the same entrepreneurial spirit, and you have got this done, got it right. So the next question: I applied for the PPP loan with one of the nation's largest banks, and I still haven't heard back on my loan application. Okay. And what I would say on this, I don't recommend applying with the big national banks. Since I've seen a lot of rejections with them, I have seen a lot of non-response from them. They go in silo. When you call, you are asked to leave a message, or you don't even get anyone. Or they will say, we don't have further information. When we have it, we will update you. And that goes on for days. So I do not recommend going with the big national banks. I do not recommend doing it by yourself either, especially if you're not familiar with what it entails. Because if your application is not compiled properly, or your loan amount is not calculated correctly, you are losing out so much of valuable time right now, which is time of the essence. And you might receive the loan approved for far less than what you qualify. And in my personal experience, I have seen that the smaller banks, the small community banks, credit unions, the local banks, they are literally rocking this process. And the bigger challenge that we are having is with the big, larger banks. And some of you might have read in the news that the Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Chase Bank, they all got sued for favoring to the bigger business owners. So it's been crazy with the volume of questions that we have been getting by the people who have tried to apply for these loans by themselves. What happens when you don't have the loan application done the right way it's supposed to be, what would lenders do? They will move on to the next one, skipping you, because then they have to wait to get more clarification or get more response from you. And I've seen so many loan applications getting rejected as well. Either they don't have the correct ICS code, or they have the wrong loan amount, they didn't submit the proper documentation, or bank sent you an email asking for extra records and you didn't send it back in time. So rather than risking losing your time or losing out on the grant itself, which is a forgivable loan, hire a professional, a trusted source who knows this well, instead of stressing out by doing it yourself and not being funded. I do have so many clients who got funded, the week before, the last week. At the same time, I did see some people getting funded this week as well. So, don't take a chance on this one. Moving on to the next question. I haven't paid payroll or rent for the first quarter. Can I pay this from the PPP loan money? Or can I prepay my rent or payroll? Well, the short answer on this is no. The law says that the expenses has to be incurred and paid in the 8-week period. So if you couldn't if you couldn't pay the payroll for the first quarter or couldn't pay the rent for one or the other reason, you're planning to pay in the second quarter using this PPP loan money and expect it to be forgiven, it's not going to be. You can use it, but it will not be forgiven. Now, during that 8-week period, funds has to be used for the purpose that is allowed under the loan. After the 8-week period, you can absolutely use this money for anything that you want. There is no restriction because you are paying interest on it. So for the first for the first 8 weeks, you're restricted from using it for anything else other than it is allowed under the law. Now, prepaying your rent for, say, for example, July, August, or September, you can't do that either because that expenses will be incurred in future. Hence, it has to be paid in future. You can't pay employee bonus. I mean, you can pay if it is a reasonable amount and you can substantiate it somehow with your proper documentation, because what bank lenders will ask you is they want to see, when did you pay bonus last year? Are you trying to just make this loan forgiven by paying extra bonus? So of course they want to see what is your bonus policy. When do you usually pay the bonus? They want to see everything. I would not doubt if bank is asking you for your HR policy. What is your vacation requirement? What is your bonus requirement? I mean, bank could ask you for that. So just be cautious what you use this money for. The next question I have is, can a new employee be hired to get back to the FTE as the time of the loan? So let me repeat it. Can a new employee be hired to get back to the full-time equivalent ratio as the time of the loan? And if 8-week period ends, say early June, do they still have until June 30th, 2020 for the full-time equivalent calculation? So the way it works, your 8-week period starts the day proceeds are deposited in your business bank account. The expenses has to be incurred and paid in 8-week period itself. If your 8-week period ends earlier than June 30th, your loan time ends, your forgiveness time ends that time. You do not get the privilege of extending the spending period through June 30th, just for the forgiveness amount. Now, if it's either your 8-week loan period or June 30th, 2020, whichever is sooner, is counted as your forgiveness period. And if you lost any employee, say for example, you can hire a new employee to maintain the headcount ratio, but you can't otherwise add an employee and expect them to be forgiven. or give an employee a raise and then expect it to be forgiven. Okay, I hope I got all the questions covered. Let me just make sure. Okay, so we got all the questions covered on that. And now, for those of you who were inquiring about the Round 2 PPP and EIDL loan and what are the urgent action needed from you, so here's that. Now, here's a game plan for EIDL and the PPP loan for the second round, which is going to be funded very soon. First of all, apply for the EIDL. Keep an eye on the sba.gov website. Check out funding programs on the sba.gov website. I will post the link to this in the description box. And go to coronavirus relief options and check if apply now option is there. If it is active, you can go ahead and apply for the EIDL $10,000 grant. Again, remember, I don't know if anything has been changed in the round 2, but the first round, it was $1,000 per employee, maximum $10,000. I have seen many of my clients getting $2,000, $3,000, $5,000. I've seen some of them getting $10,000 as well. And just so you know, if you have a lottery business or liquor store as well, you are eligible to get that $10,000 EIDL grant. So that's something for you to know. Now, right now, as of today, 4/22, April 22, at 6:30 p.m., that's apply now option is not active yet, and they are not accepting the application. It can be like, it cannot be like you forgot or you got busy and all. If you can't do it, contact us and we will do your application. Or ask any other professional like us who can monitor this for you and get your application in time on your behalf. In the meantime, what I would recommend, have all the data ready, which will be sales over the last 12 months, your gross cost of goods sold over the last 12 months, number of employees, head count, and all your business information and your ID and all stuff ready, so that as soon as that SBA EIDL application starts, you're ready to go and apply for it right away. Now, if you are at a bank and you have the application with them for the PPP loan, and they didn't get it done for one or the other reason, whatever the case may be at this point, I would just say move on with someone else, probably a smaller local bank or some trusted online lender. I do know, it's kind of a tough, but I wouldn't recommend risking a chance. I don't know what to tell you. The huge banks have really failed us during this time, and they are setting aside this in the second round. Majority of this money has been set aside for the smaller banks, especially for the small businesses. The chances of big banks getting anything out of this $310 billion amount is very limited. So you will be better, with going with the smaller banks, just to make a smart decision here. And if you're going to stay with the big bank, I don't know if they are getting any fund or not. And in the, and I think SBA is not even happy with the big banks like Bank of America and Wells Fargo, Chase, depending on what they did in the first round. And this time they really want money going into the hands of the small businesses. So they are giving more funds to the small businesses. Now, so just think intelligently and draw your own conclusion on this. So point is, you need to make sure you're dealing with the right bank. You can start the process right now. Don't wait until it is funded. And most of the small banks, they are accepting the application. And have your application ready. And see, if you're not getting the answers that you need from your bank, go find another bank. And if your bank is not responding and letting you down at this time, it's better to withdraw your application and apply somewhere else. So here's what I would do. Apply at 2 different lenders at the same time, which could be one of your big bank where you have already applied, and go with another smaller bank or online lenders, whichever you prefer. And once you get the SBA E-Trend number, you can withdraw the other application out. You will not receive PPP funds from both the banks the same time. That is not possible, because once you have got the SBA E-Trend number based off your FEIN, federal identification number, the other application, if another bank tries to put it in, it will be rejected completely. So, and this is your last chance. This is your last chance, unless anything changes, and they pass another third wave of money, which is very unlikely. And even if they do it, it will take a lot of time for the funds to come in. So don't be sitting around and waiting for magic to happen. And if you can't do it by yourself and you need any help, we are here to assist you at the whole PPP loan application process. At the same time, we are assisting our clients with the forgiveness portion as well. We have developed a PPP forgiveness tracker, and we will be tracking all your expenses over the course of 8 weeks. And we will work with the lender to negotiate your terms, at the same time increase your maximization on the PPP loan. So let me know, and we have different levels of packages on that side, depending on how much of a hand-holding you're looking for, and I can get more information. So the next thing I would say, the next step that you should be doing as soon as you watch this video is gathering all the information for your EIDL and the PPP loan. If you haven't got the loan already, and start applying for it. Be ready, or file for the unemployment. If you haven't done so, and contact us if you want us to handle it for you for a mistake-proof application, and which has the highest chances of being processed. So thank you for watching this video, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel and keep sending us your questions. And let me know if you would like us to go live with either on the YouTube or on the Facebook, whichever side, and want to do live Q&A session. I would be more than happy to do it one of the weekdays. So until then, keep sending your questions, all the questions we have. I hope I have addressed all of them, and this will bring some clarity to you. And until we meet next time, stay safe. Thank you.